Okay, you ready?
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Hello and welcome back to the Weekly Snap. If you do remember from last year, talking a little bit about a character breakdown of some of the important people we think are going to be within Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Today, we're going to be continuing with that. So just right off, I don't think we're probably going to have enough time for story time. We'll probably save it for next time. I'll keep it in mind, though. But something I realized is at the end of that, I think I pronounced one of the names as Namor the Submariner, and he's like basically the king of Atlantis. I'm pretty sure it's Submariner. I think I'm the biggest fucking idiot to say.
No, you're right. No.
Is it Submariner
I think it is.
or Submariner? I don't know. Like,
No, it's Submariner. I'm pretty sure.
Submariner. Okay, maybe that's probably why you have the hyphen in between the two. But I was thinking right after, I'm like,
Oh, you're wrong. Sorry, Submariner.
no, it's like, oh my God, fucking English, man. I hate it. I'm still learning how to read, which is probably why this has been so difficult for me in order to actually put some of these concepts together. But yeah, I mentioned Namor last time. I'm like, I can get Namor right, can get fucking Shumagorath right, but I can't even get Submariner right. So that's but yeah. Anyways, if you'd like to know about some of the characters we talked about last time, feel free to check out our last video. We talk all about basically the different Doctor Stranges that are going to be in it, along with some of the antagonists and also America Chavez. There's definitely some other ones that we need to talk about as well. Let's, begin with some of the most important people that, important group, I should say, that I believe are going to be in it. So, Matt, do you want to start us off as to like discussing that important group, and then some of the characters that you believe are going to comprise of the group themselves?
Yes, I shall. We are talking about none other than the Illuminati, who I am sure you may have heard about at this point if you have watched any trailer breakdowns speculating their presence in the movie. But so at varying times in the comic books, the Illuminati consisted of Iron Man, who we know, Charles Xavier, who we know, Black Bolt, who is a member of the Inhumans, who I'm sure Ryan could speak more to in about a second, Doctor Strange, probably the most relevant.
Who's that?
Reed Richards, Black Panther, Captain America, Beast, and Namor.
Was Beast a part of it?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. I mean, like the members varied depending on the country we're talking about, but that's just like largely who was a part of it. And basically, like at a high level, the Illuminati it was a group that was formed to stop future threats before they got out of hand. And I believe in the comic books, they operate at the universal level, but assuming they're in the movie, they're probably going to be protecting the entirety of the multiverse. And I think they will probably be at the center of the plot, or they'll be one of the biggest forces driving the plot. Because it seems like in that scene where we see Doctor Strange being taken in by those Ultron drones, he is being brought forth before a council that seems to resemble the Illuminati. It's likely that he's being tried for some sort of crime involving the multiverse. But yeah, I don't want to run off into that too much before we get off track of the Illuminati. But do you have anything you want to say to that?
Yeah, definitely a great point to kind of talk about the origin. So they're basically like 6 original members from that. And you definitely alluded to the right point where in the comics, basically, they are solely responsible for kind of like their own universe. So here it's like kind of having another universal being or like someone from another universe being brought forward to them. They're definitely seems like they're going to be acting more on the multiversal scale, which I definitely had a lot of questions about because, you know, if they're kind of only operating on the universal scale, why are they now operating on the multiversal scale? And if that's the case, and they're creating any type of consistency between this and What If, like why were they not the ones to act against Ultron? Why would you have the Guardians of the Multiverse, basically, which Uatu, hopefully you pronounce that name right, the Watcher, basically congregated those different members to have. So there's the idea that this could be different members from like across different universes being brought together, or they're all part of the same universe. And then whether they're either acting on the multiversal scale or the universal scale. So there's definitely like a lot of different theories going around between that. But what members would you say specifically do you think are going to be involved with this one? Because it seems that there's going to be some differences that kind of go against the characters that you mentioned from the actual comic universe that are very well known.
Yeah, that seems to be the trend in Marvel. They seem to loosely base a lot of the plot lines and characters off of the comic books, and then they infuse their own original ideas into it. But I think we're definitely going to see Professor Xavier.
Yeah.
Simply because of the end of the trailer. It's that, that voice was unambiguously the voice of Patrick Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
I think one amendment that they'll make is Mordo will be a member.
Okay.
Either work on behalf of them or be a sitting member of the team. And he is probably the one that brings Doctor Strange in.
Okay.
There's seems to be a lot of rumors surrounding Iron Man being in the movie.
Yeah.
And the question is, will the role be reprised by the man himself, Robert Downey Jr.? Will it be Tom Cruise, as many has said, because he auditioned for the role of Tony Stark way back in 2007? Or will it be a version of Tony Stark that we've never seen before? So I mean, you could devote an entire video just talking about that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like all the thoughts going through my head. I could easily spin off for like a half hour talking about it, but I'm not going to make people suffer.
This could also be a great opportunity for them to introduce the Fantastic Four through Reed Richards.
He really is like the only kind of consistent member that I've seen across the different comic universes that have been brought up. He's like one of the few that's like in each one, might not be a bad idea, or like to either bring him up or just kind of do like a reference back to the original Fantastic Four to have that same kind of Reed Richards come back,
Yeah, exactly. So, which brings up the question of like, how many new characters do they plan on introducing that will be a part of the MCU for the foreseeable future?
Yeah.
And how many of the introduced characters will be there just purely for fan service, right? Because you could either bring an original Reed Richards, who's played by John Krasinski, indicating that this is going to be our Reed Richards going forward, or it could be like the Reed Richards from the Fantastic Four movies, just for the sake of entertaining the fans, and then they scrape him after that. So it's like, that's kind of, you can ask the same question of Wolverine. Like, people are wondering whether Hugh Jackman's gonna be in the movie. I say no, because he's clearly the cash cow of the X-Men. Mm-hmm. So obviously they make a fuck ton of money if they bring in Hugh Jackman. At the same time, it's like they want to I think they want to basically reinvent his story.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I just kind of going to be like a mix. I think it's going to be some fan service, and then maybe some like introduction, but it'd be weird to have an introduction for a character like in this universe, because it's technically a different reality. So it's like, what is it really going to do? Because, whatever character is brought up for them that may be new, it's not necessarily going to translate over into like the actual cinematic universe,
Yeah. Or it might, we just don't know how.
Yeah. Yeah. As we saw with Venom, there's now the case of Tom Hardy's basically symbiote coming over and everything. So that's pretty cool. One of the things I thought, like, I have a list of the people I believe are going to be within the Illuminati lineup, and I have to have the screen up in order to make sure I remember all the different people.
Fire away.
So Charles Xavier, number one, because we hear the character, we're not sure kind of like what really universe this is taking place in as of right now, or like what I guess version might from the comic books, but we believe it's Charles Xavier from the voice, and then also like he's the leader of the X-Men. And as I mentioned, the leader of the X-Men, like what's important to bring up is like the Illuminati is there, where they're basically gathering kind of like the most successful or like most philosophical, most important people from like different individual groups that kind of are there to defend like the world as it is, which is kind of how they're introduced within the actual comic book themselves. Within that universe, the Illuminati forms because in order to like Iron Man saw a way in order to prevent one of the wars. I believe it was like it's either Secret Wars or Kree Skull War. In order for them to prevent that, Iron Man thought that if all of them acted together, they could have prevented this. So that's kind of the whole reason why the Illuminati formed in the first place. And from that, as Matt said, you had the different members, and they're kind of like the most respective of these certain groups. So Charles Xavier, leader of the X-Men. Next up is, I believe, like Killmonger or like Black Panther. I believe like basically, what's his name? Michael B. Jordan's like Killmonger is playing Black Panther in this case, in this universe. And I believe he's going to be in it. One of the different sources out there, it showed like the necklace that he had was kind of like silver or like gold, but it was kind of thick enough where it looked like the one that Black Panther had. And it kind of looked like his like kind of slim, like physique as well. Very athletic physique too. And so that's kind of one of the reasons just from that. And then also in the comic books, he was a member later on, but initially he was like given access, and that's kind of where they held a lot of the Illuminati meetings was in Wakanda, because if the Illuminati is a secret group, then why not, what better place to have it than in a secretive kind of like kingdom known as Wakanda. So that's the reason why I think he could be in it. And then Namor, now the submariner, I think like he could possibly be introduced as one of the characters because he is rumored to be the main antagonist in Black Panther 2. And a little bit about his backstory is that he is kind of like the king of Atlantis, kind of the bridge between the world above and then the world below in the sea. And then also kind of like a little bit added on to that is like he's dealt with Gargantos, which is kind of like that big eye creature with the tentacles going on. That's the title of the main like antagonist. I believe it's kind of more related to Shuma Gorath, but it's kind of the name wise. So maybe he might have an idea of how to defeat that given character if he's brought into it. Next up is Reed Richards. I'm not entirely sure if he's going to be in it because, again, as Matt and I discussed, it's kind of like fan service or are you introducing a new character, but he is consistent across all the Illuminatis you see within the multiverse. Mordo, I totally agree with you. I think he's kind of going to like replace Strange in a way where it kind of goes a little bit back to like in the trailer, what you see is you have kind of like a shrine being like devoted to kind of like a statue given in most likely Doctor Strange's honor. And so I think that he passes away in this universe at some point, and Mordo's there to kind of take on Sorcerer Supreme and then also take up his place on the Illuminati scale within that little branch there. Next up is Maria Rambeau. I'm probably sure you'll probably have some stuff to say, but I believe she is in it. I believe she is kind of the one fighting Captain Marvel is my biggest theory. Talk a little bit about that kind of glowing version very quickly as to who we believe it's going to be. But that's my simple, quick take on it. Tony Stark as well because of the Ultron bots mainly, and he's also original member in the comics. And then finally Captain Britain as well. One of the ones because he kind of dealt with Shuma Gorath in the What If series, and then also because her shield is like kind of like a little glass broken fragment. I'm sure you probably saw is on the poster is one of the highlighted points. So because of that, that's kind of like my take as to who the potential lineup could be. It's more than obviously what I said. That's 8 people. It's more than the 6 seats that are laid out. But I think some versions of those, I think that's kind of my take of who could possibly be in it, the most likely version. So with that, how does that sound? Does that kind of sound like I did a lot of looking into this, a lot of my social life.
That was beautiful. I mean, every single one seems feasible. And I think the more guesses you have, the less likely you are to be wrong. So when we're in the theater and you see all 6 of them and you're like, bang, 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 bang. You're like, I fucking knew it. I knew it.
I have no life. There we go. But yeah, so since I talked about it, the glowing character that we see fighting Scarlet Witch, who do you think it is? My take, Maria Rambeau. I'd love to know your 2 cents on the piece there as well.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people seem to think. When the trailer first released and the image wasn't
as clear,
clear and magnified, people thought it could have been Superior Iron Man or Captain Marvel or Monica Rambeau. But if there have been picture or zoomed in photos that have been circulating on social media, and it seems like it's a black dude with a beard. So I have no idea who it is.
It's really so. Actually, one of the things that I saw that I'd love to dive into the series, maybe, I don't know if you saw it, but hear me out. I don't even know if I'm going to get this 100% correct because I didn't fully dive into the series. But it could possibly be a version of Kang, a younger Kang the Conqueror.
Oh, I saw that. Yes.
Yeah. And so in this case, it's like kind of his own origin story, but kind of before moving on to Kang the Conqueror, where I believe, and this one is known as Iron Lad. And so, he's kind of serving along this, and later down the road, he turns into Kang the Conqueror. Like, that is what he's destined to. So there's definitely a lot of comics out there in order for him to prevent turning into that. This could easily be his like origin story, but before turning into Kang, or as like just a younger Kang himself. But I think the Iron Lad one stood out to me the most whenever you mentioned black male there. So that's kind of one of the theories that I saw. But I think that it's either... That's the one that I really love to happen because it'd just be really cool to see it play out. But kind of based on the effects, it looked very similar to what Captain Marvel has. Basically, the different energies that kind of flowing around her, and then also the appearance of the character himself or herself.
I think Kang is actually a great guess because he is Iron Lad in one of the comics. He has the Iron Man suit. It kind of looks like the Iron Man suit.
Could very well be the one that's devising the different bots. Let's say it may not be Tony Stark. It may not be the one doing like the Ultron bots. It could be someone very different.
Yeah, I know that Nathaniel Richards, who dons the Iron Lad suit, is related to Reed Richards.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like which way it goes. I'm pretty sure Nate Richards is like a descendant of Reed Richards. I'm pretty sure, or it might be the other way around, but that's kind of getting a little off course. But I really do like the idea that it could be Kang, and that it could be like part of his origin story in this universe. Let's say there is like, can I dive into another theory that I really love that I saw?
Go for it.
All right. One of the big theories is that I believe Doctor Strange passed away in this universe, and Tony Stark was the one that actually survived the entire snap for Thanos. So here's the reason why I think is one, because the society that they're living in looks very much like utopian like, and it's excelled in many of the different aspects. And now you have Mordo, who's basically looks like he's serving as the Sorcerer Supreme whenever Doctor Strange enters what believes to be the Illuminati universe there. And you also have the statue that makes it seem that Doctor Strange was able, that he in fact passed away at some point. Now it's a matter of when did he pass away? Well, because there are the Ultron bots, and assuming if they are kind of following the guidelines of Tony Stark, then that would mean that Tony Stark may have been the one to actually survive the snap of Thanos, and it was Doctor Strange the one that actually sacrificed himself, and he passed away because of that. Assuming he is alive. Now, this all could be going downhill, assuming, if Tony Stark is also dead in this universe and Doctor Strange passed away at some other time. But if you are to flip them around, then that could lead to the creation of the Ultron bots, and that could lead to Doctor Strange being the one to pass away in the end there. So hopefully that kind of clarifies some things on that theory. But in addition to that, I think what I was trying to kind of overlap different theories of is I believe like the Illuminati, I think, is governing the universe, just their own universe, and they're not governing the multiverse themselves. And here's why. I think they only care about their universe as many other Illuminatis do. So whenever another being is brought over from a different universe, especially one when they think is dead, hence Doctor Strange, because of that whole statue, because they think he is dead. Whenever a new one pops up in front of Mordo, he's probably like, what the fuck is going on? You guys clearly aren't from around here. I'm bringing you guys into questioning, which is why he brings them into the Illuminati. And now it's up for them to decide what they are going to do. So, and that's whenever Mordo says in that famous trailer, he gives the lines that the greatest threat to the universe, to this reality is you.
The greatest threat to our universe is you. Things just got out of hand.
And they say that like whenever it's talking about the Sinister Strange, but that's like on a totally different universe. I think they're solely talking about the universe that they're on, because he's supposed to be dead, but now he shows up. He's causing these different, basically these different branches in reality, crossing different universes. So again, I think they're solely just thinking about their own universe, but now because you have another multiversal being, which is not allowed to cross over, that's whenever they go into the Illuminati's hands, it's up for them to decide what exactly they're going to do with that. So 2 different theories there. Do those kind of make sense?
Those did make sense. And what's frustrating is that they both seem tenable. So like, it's just like leading up to any Marvel movie, you just don't know anything for sure. So every single theory out there seems more plausible. Some more than others, but it's just like it really drives you mad.
Especially with this one, just because you have like, now we're talking about variants. Now we're talking about different realities, different timelines.
The realm of possibilities has like grown exponentially because literally anything can happen.
And, we just discussed basically this entire video solely on the Illuminati and possible different events that are going on with this universe alone. We obviously did the other video on like the other important characters, but now we haven't even like talked, at all about, some of the other villains that could possibly be at play, not even discussing Wanda and some of the other antagonists. So it's like, oh my God, I think this video might just be solely devoted to the Illuminati themselves, because I think we just talked 20 minutes about them. So it's honestly not the worst, because it's like they are, even though if they might not be in it for the entirety of the film, if they may only have a small role, it's still like, I think because of this group showing up, it means there might be some other, Illuminati members out there, and possibly, as you said, being like the origin to breaking in a lot of the different characters. So, oh my God. But I think, I think that's been like close to the 20-minute mark. And I don't think we want to kind of go more than that before diving into something else.
Yeah. I think this is a good stopping point for.
Yeah. Oh my God. So
Illuminati deserves its own video.
It really did. It really did. And there's so many other things to talk about. So we're not really sure. I think there's definitely some more things to discuss. I'm not sure if we're going to keep going into that, but I'm glad we were able to do the character breakdown. Maybe we do another video as to how we think the sequence of events are going to go. But we'll see. But I guess, thank you all for kind of listening and listening to the bullshit that we were putting together, because we're not entirely 100% sure. And I imagine not many other people out there are. But thank you for listening, and feel free to like, subscribe, ring those bells.
Ring those bells.
So just so you're notified whenever more videos come out. Feel free to follow us on social media as well for some more condensed content as well, for some more shit that Matt and I pull together as well. It might be humorous. It probably is. It might be on the more serious side of Marvel. But overall, thank you very much for listening. And until next time, this has been the Weekly Snap. That was the most in sync one, I think.
Really?
Maybe it was a little delayed. I think it was probably a little delayed.
That's funny, because I was about to say that was the most out of sync one.
Oh, really? Fuck. God damn it.
Probably the delay.